In this video, I'm going to show you how I made, for the first time, a circle frame from a bunch of pieces of wood, what I did right and what I definitely did wrong. Let's get to it. Now, my project started with simple 2x10's that I ripped down on a bandsaw to get them to the proper thickness. Then went to my table saw and cut 30-degree angles, and my idea was to make a hexagon to lessen the waste in creating this large circle. This is going to be a final diameter circle of 25.5 inches. Now here I'm marking the points where I'm going to use a domino to connect these segments. Now, are there other ways to join pieces of wood? Absolutely, but I decided early on to get myself a festool domino because it has so many uses, and this just happens to be one of them, and I'm going to use it on this particular project. I want to make sure I have my settings correct. I'm using a 5x30 millimeter domino, which means my depth is 15 millimeters. Now I'm utilizing the stops that are on the domino so I can be consistent with each of my drill points. And dry fit it, make sure everything works right. Just continue the process for each of the 6 segments on this hexagon. Now, since wood does swell somewhat when coming in contact with glue, I'm going to utilize the mortise setting on the domino to give myself some fudge room by using the narrow setting on one side of the joint and on the corresponding side, the medium setting. Here I'm just marking the points so that I make sure that each piece goes back together the same way. Now I'm applying glue to both sides of the joint, not just one, trying to create a better bond with that end grain to end grain. But as you'll see later in the video, unfortunately, that didn't work like I hoped it would. The other reason I did it with a hexagon is I wanted the seams at symmetrical points on the round frame. Few clamps strategically placed, overlapping, and we left it to dry. So now it's just scrape off a little bit of glue. Now, I didn't need to sand this, but the jig I used to cut this circle, I wanted to make sure that it didn't catch on anything, so I went ahead and just gave it a quick rough sand just to knock all the edges down. Now, I know there are some of you out there that are going to cringe at what I'm about to do here by shooting screws directly into the top of my bench, but trust me, this bench is going to see a new top at some point here soon. So these pieces of wood are just to hold the workpiece in place as I cut the circle with a router. Now, because the center is lower than the rest of the workpiece, I had to cut another small piece of scrap to use as a center point for the router. Using a straight edge, in my case, just a big level I had. And screw through the 3x3 custom jig that I've had for a while that I absolutely love for doing this exact kind of work. It makes for really a nice controlled circle. There are a lot of circle jigs out there, but I'll link to this in the description below. And so I'm starting out the outside here by cutting the outside diameter with a pattern bit or trim bit. And I'm wanting to make sure that I can get small passes so I don't, one, injure myself or break the bit. Multiple passes is the key on this. The first go around was to get the final outside diameter of the frame. These next passes are initially to cut the inside diameter as well as 1/2 inch recess or rabbet for the puzzle to sit in. Now, I'm sure some of you have noticed that by taking away the outside frame with the hold downs, that now my centerpiece is loose to finish the circle. I didn't anticipate that, so I did have to shoot screws through the main part just to hold it down to finish the circle. Now that the frame is cut, just remove everything, take it away, and as you can see, I have some new beauty marks on the top of my workbench. Probably should have laid something down. Now I decided to use the domino again to reinforce these joints. And I didn't go all the way through because of the rabbet inside. I didn't want to take the chance of exposing that. Now you get to see what I'm actually mounting. I did not do this puzzle, but I am doing it for a friend. A good product to use to lock everything in is this Mod Podge. This is actually their puzzle specific glue. The puzzle already had some tape on the back to give it some stability, but after letting the Mod Podge dry, I went to dry fit it into the frame and realized that it really was a little bit tight. So my idea was to try to increase the rabbet, the 1/2 inch rabbet that's on the inside. Now the way I did that was to grab a 1/2 inch rabbet bit and just make sure that that circle was as far inward as I could make it. But it wasn't enough. So I went to a pattern bit to try to increase the diameter of the overall inside ledge. Now coming up here in just a second, you'll see my first error where I pushed out the frame over the edge of my workbench and didn't have any support. That's what happens when you don't support your workpiece. And it didn't break in just one, but 2 spots. Yeah. So back to the domino to try to stitch these 2 pieces together. I didn't have any real way of clamping this from the outside, so I did my best, and we're back to the pattern bit to try to create that increase in diameter. So since I only have a 1/2 inch rabbet bit, I only have a 1/2 inch to be able to take away from the diameter. And again, remember, I increased the ledge, so by using the rabbet bit, I was hopefully able to gain that little bit of extra diameter in the piece. 1/8 inch round over, inside and out, sanding, and I hoped we were pretty close to being done. Little did I know I still had some other surprises. So now I'm just taking some poster board, basically some foam poster board, and giving myself a backing by tracing the circle. Now I freehanded this. It wasn't as perfect of a circle as I'd hoped, but it was close enough to be able to get inside, at least I thought. Until I tried to push the backer board in, causing stress on the joint with the domino, mind you. Now it's back to trying to glue the joint, and in my process of trying to glue this joint, the other joint broke. Not my best day. So all I could do was wipe off the edges and attempt to create a bond with this end grain with the glue, using the Tight Bond thick glue in this particular case, and a strategically placed set of clamps. Now, I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to tell me how wrong I did this, that there was better ways with using a strap or a circle clamps or something like that, but I did the best I could. On to finishing. I'm using this Bush oil. This is a product I came across recently. It's a great finish for bringing out the grain. It's one of my new favorites. I will link to that in the description. After placing the backer board, I still felt like it was a little tight. I didn't want to risk breaking it again, so I went in and just trimmed off a little bit of the circle. It didn't really matter that it was super tight. It just needed to be a backer. So I'm just going to trim it off with a utility knife and give myself a little bit of play. So now just use these little fasteners. These are nice because you can spin them out of the way and take out the artwork if need be. Fairly self-explanatory how they go on. I did want to make sure to avoid any of the seams though. Couple strategically placed hangers, a wire across between the two of them. I didn't put that on the video, but picture wire works great. And there we go. Now, I did realize I had a little puckering in this puzzle, so my fix was take the backer board off, spray some glue, put some weight, did the trick. And there was our finished circle frame. Pretty happy with this as a first-time effort. It showcases the puzzle real nicely. If you got something out of this video, please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks.